Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal and Horror Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are afraid to shit on both of them. And today is our first spoiler episode. So,
That's right.
what movie
That's
are
right.
what movie are we doing today, Matt?
So, we are doing Final Destination Bloodlines, which supposedly is the... well, I don't even know if we can say supposedly, but this is supposed to be the last of the Final Destination films, right?
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, when they teased this movie to the public, it was just Final Destination, and then it had something after it, right? That kind of said that it was the last one, and then they changed the name, and then it was Final Destination, what, 6?
Yep.
Final Destination 6?
First it was Final Destination Remake. Then it was Final
Right.
Destination 6. And then, I don't know, out of nowhere, it was just all of a sudden Final Destination Bloodline. So it's Final
Yeah.
Destination 6.
They couldn't really figure out what they were going to call this movie, or that was part of the ad campaign to kind of keep people guessing.
Yeah.
Either way, to me, it seems pretty final, but at the same time, I feel like you could definitely create another movie off of this one if you wanted to. Because with Final
Yeah.
Destination, if you think back, I mean, the first movie came out a really fucking long time ago. But the first movie dealt with a certain group of people, and most of them died, right? And as you go through the movies, Final Destination 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it always deals with a different group of people, right, that have avoided death. And if you haven't seen Final Destination, all it is a slasher flick, the killer, like we talked about yesterday. It's the only one where you don't see the killer. You know the killer is death, but you never see him. And so if you avoid death, if you avoid your own death in any way, then you've screwed up death's plan, but you're never going to escape dying, right?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
some way. It doesn't have to be a horrible way, but you're going to die. Death will eventually get you. And I think throughout all of the movies, there's only been 2 characters that have made it through all the movies and not died, right?
I don't remember. I only remember the one girl from Final Destination 2. The other movies, I don't remember. I saw parts of Final Destination 3, but it was for me always, I don't know. Final Destination 2 was, nah.
Yeah.
And so then I literally never saw 3, 4, and 5. And I was literally going into this movie thinking it's probably going to fucking suck.
Yeah, at some point during these
Yep.
films, like, you're not going to outdo the first one, right? Because the first one was, it was original, it was the first time it was done, and it kind of kept you on your toes. Like, after a couple, maybe an hour into the movie, you knew what to expect. There was going to be horrific deaths, where people were trying to escape death's plan and they got killed. And if you watch this movie on the surface, it's just a great way to watch cool kills happen.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with the Friday the 13th movie. You're just going to see kills happen, and it's going to be good. That's the one thing I will say about Final Destination. Even with the first one back, we were kind of just getting into CGI. And some of the kills in that movie were CGI. I think most of them were. The best praise that I can give this series is that it does use CGI, but it does it really, really well. Like, you're not thinking that it's CGI when people get killed. The kills are done very well, very tastefully, and it seems like most of the budget for the movie goes into the kills because it never once takes you out of it with bad CGI, thankfully. This movie was really no different than those, and the fact that there are some really fucking great kills in this movie. They're very, very in your face.
They are, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very in your face, and not 1 second was I taken out of the film by bad CGI. So thank you for that, creators of this film. This film doesn't really do anything differently than the other ones, right?
No, I know. No, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It doesn't do anything differently, but it's like, in my opinion, okay, I haven't seen 3, 4, or 5. Okay, I see parts of 3, but 4 and 5 I haven't seen. But it's like the first one, I would say, that is pretty much on the same level as the first one. No? because the kills often, how should I say it? In all the other Final Destination movies was literally just rinse and repeat everything that happened in the first one. They basically just set up the scenario in which all of these people die. In this one, it was like, just like in the first one, he's like, oh no, that's gonna get him. No, it doesn't get him. No, that's gonna get him. No. And then at the end, it's a thing you don't really count on that actually kills the person. That's actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I did like that because just like you said, I kind of felt like we were going to go into this one that it was going to be a snooze fest with some kills, right? But they did an extremely good job of curbing your expectation as to who was going to die next, how they were going to die, and I'm not going to say that every kill was a shock that person died, but it kind of was. It kind of was. There's some times where you definitely think it's going to be one person and it's not. It's somebody completely different that gets offed, and you're kind of taken back by that. And I have seen the other Final Destination films, and that was done maybe once or twice in the other films. But this film, the entire film, is just making you think one person's going to get killed and the other person gets killed. And that's brilliant. So that alone makes this film worth seeing. Sorry ahead of time. This is a spoilers episode. I don't know if we're going to do this once a month, but we're going to do it often. And we'll let you know ahead of time that we're going to spoil the shit out of the film for you. And that's exactly what we're going to do now, because this film came out 2 days ago, and we just saw it, and we're just going to go through the whole thing and spoil it for you. So, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. Well, not really. I'm not really sorry. I mean, we're gonna have it at least in the thumbnail and in the titles.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
You'll
don't
know
want
it's a
it
spoiler
spoiled, click off pretty much at this point. No, but first we have to go into the cast, right? That's what we haven't done yet. No.
Yeah, that's probably where we should go next. Like, this is such a fun movie. I just want to dive into it because it's great. Like, this is going to be one of the fun ones to go through for sure.
Yeah.
But cast and crew is pretty cool, specifically because of one person that's part of the cast and crew, and we'll kind of go into that. But go ahead, Mike.
Well, okay, though the cast is, the reappearing character Tony Todd, as William Bitworth. As far as I know, I think I'm not sure if he's been in all of the Final Destination movies, but I think he was in one or two, and I also think in the others, because a lot of fans were theorizing that he was actually dead. No. Then there's Breck Basinger. That's pretty much the girl from the beginning that has like this vision in the restaurant. Then Richard Harmon. He plays the, heavy metal oddball guy in this movie. Then we have the main protagonist, Kathleen Santa Joanna, played. Yeah, exactly. She plays Stephanie Lewis. Then Theo Briones, who's her little brother. Then Owen Joner, April Telek, Gabriella Rose, Ria Killstedt. I guess that's her name. I don't know.
It's kind of a cool name. All right.
Yeah, I sorry, I might mispronounce names, but who cares? No. And one actress I know, Gabriella Rose. She's the older version of Iris, played by Breck Basinger. Right. Breck Basinger plays the young Iris, and Gabriella Rose plays the old Iris. I've seen this actress, Gabriella Rose, but I can't tell you in what movie. No?
I've seen her before too. I just can't remember what movie she was in. Now, the character that we see at the beginning of this film, the actress Brett Basinger, is she Kim Basinger's daughter?
Maybe. I don't know. No,
because
I haven't
that's
really
not a
looked
very
that up.
common last name.
Let me see.
Because she kind of looks like her too.
Yeah, she does a little bit look like her. Yeah. But I think I've also seen that actress somewhere, no? Well, I have to look into it, but so far I can't find anything that she has that she's related to her. No? Who knows if it's even her real name? No, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably just a coincidence. Whatever. I mean, she's great. She's the one that the film opens on. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Tony Todd, but we'll get to Tony Todd when that time comes, right?
I don't know. Have you ever heard of the directors Zach Lebowski and Adam Stein? Because those are the guys that directed this movie.
No, never heard of them.
Okay.
That doesn't mean they haven't done other stuff that's
also
good.
Produced
I mean,
by
I just don't,
Warner
I don't know
Bros.
who they are. Yeah, isn't everything now?
No, not really. Actually,
I'm gonna have to look back and see if the other movies were produced by Warner Brothers, but
I have no idea.
Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because at the opening of the film, you get this really cool, and I think this is the only reason I remembered it. The opening of the film, you get the New Line Cinema logo, and normally you get the logo and the music that goes along with it, and they did that. But then, right when the logo placed
Yeah.
itself, the screen turned red, and the music that's the normal music for the logo went down and got really dark. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The house that Freddy built, as we said before. So this film kind of throws you for a loop because the film opens up in 1968. Right. And you know this because of the cars people are driving. It's kind of a cool open because it opens on a railroad track, right? Which, if you remember from the first Final Destination film, there's a character that gets killed at a railroad track, and it's one of the most horrific deaths in the movie. There's this piece of metal sitting on the railroad track, and when the train hits it, the train throws the metal piece into his head right here, and it just cuts him in half, like his head completely in half, and he falls over. So this scene is a little bit of a callback to that because the railroad tracks look exactly like they did in the first film.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what you get is some dark music, and then you see a kind of like late 50s style car driving over the railroad tracks. Real American graffiti style car. It drives over the railroad track. You realize that there's a young couple in there, and that's Iris Campbell and her fiance Paul, which these two characters we haven't been introduced to before. These are new characters. And they're heading to the Skyview Restaurant Tower, which is a new tower restaurant that just opened in their town, and that restaurant is having a grand opening party. Right? You had to have gotten reservations to this place because you knew somebody or you were really early because it's like a really popular thing to be able to be there at this party. So they go there, they get out of the car. He's got her blindfolded because it's supposed to be a surprise. They get there, he takes the blindfold off of her, and she looks up and she sees this gigantic tower. This tower, I'm not sure how high, but it's pretty damn high. I mean, if it were a building, you'd probably call it like a skyscraper. It's up there, right? And it goes straight up on this tiny little needle where an elevator sits in the middle of it and goes to the top. And at the very top, you've got this disc shaped restaurant with tables and chairs and a full view on all the sides. You get a little bit, I don't know if you caught this, you get a little bit of kind of like foreshadowing with the songs that are playing in the background, right? You get Ring of Fire is playing, which you can kind of look at the restaurant and realize it's a circle, and you Ring of Fire. Okay, something bad's about to happen here, right? So they go in.
Yeah, yeah.
He says, I wanted this to be special, so I got you tickets to this. We're going to be at the grand opening party. She's super happy about it. Puts, I think, a rose in his jacket, right?
Yeah,
She puts a rose in his jacket, like in his lapel, and sticks her finger with it, right? And she notices that her thumb is bleeding, right? So that's important later. They walk in, they get in the elevator. The elevator has a max capacity of 1,500 pounds. Like that's the max amount the elevator can have to take people up to the top.
Yeah.
And so she gets in and she looks around and she realizes there's probably more people in the elevator than should be there. Like it's way over the maximum weight capacity. And the whole time you get this weird, very nasty feeling as they're going up this needle in this elevator. It doesn't help that there's this shitty, stupid little kid standing next to them. This little shit, dude. I don't like this fucking kid. This kid standing next to her, and he's jumping up and down in the elevator the whole time the elevator's going up. So she's freaking out. It also doesn't help that the floor in the elevator is glass, just like everything in this tower is glass. So you're looking down through a glass floor and realizing that you can see the ground completely. So they're going up. The elevator's making really weird sounds like it's about to break, and this kid is jumping up and down. So it's a nerve-wracking scene already, right?
Yeah.
They get to the top.
Yeah, the fucking ass kid, yeah.
And when they get out of the elevator, they go to kind of like the reception guy where the party's being held.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, your name's not on the list. I don't know who you are. And the husband tries to explain, hey, this is a really important special time. I talked to this guy to get these reservations. Here's his name. The guy at the receptionist is like, yeah, that guy, we let him go yesterday. So I don't know who you are, and you're not on the list. At that time, somebody shows up behind them that's more prominent than they are, obviously, because the guy at the reception desk like, oh, Mr. Blah, 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 and completely ignores them, which allows them to scoot by him and into the party. And so that's what they've done, right? So they're in the party. There's a lot of foreshadowing that happens in this scene that's pretty cool. People are going to the windows and looking out from the top, and you realize at the top how high this fucking thing is. Like it's fucking up there. She looks out the
Mhm.
window. She gets kind of a
Yeah,
sense
yeah.
of vertigo because she's so high up, and she automatically feels sick. Like she feels sick to her stomach, and so she tells her fiance Paul, "Hey, I'm not feeling so good. I gotta go to the bathroom." So she heads to the bathroom, and when she gets to an area where she thinks the bathroom is, she sees the black female singer that is singing on this evening, and this woman looks at her and goes, "How far along are you right now?" Right? And Iris says, "I'm not pregnant." And then she says, "Well, actually, yeah, I am." And she's like, "Well, how far along?" And she's like, "I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks or something like that."
Months, she said.
Months, yeah. And the woman says, okay, well, what a wonderful thing to be able to have a baby. That's great. I hope you're looking forward to it. Does your husband know yet?" She says, "No, he doesn't know, and he's not my husband. He's my fiance." And she's like, "Well, does he love you?" And she said, "Yeah, I think he does." And she says, "Well, then there's no harm in telling him." So she comes back from the bathroom, meets up with Paul, and they want to go up to the very top of the needle. So you've got the restaurant that's
Yeah.
there, and if you take a stairs up to the top, you can go on top of the restaurant and look down, right? So they head up to the top. This stupid, shitty, fucking little brat kid is up there,
Yeah, yeah,
and he's
fucking
got a
idiot. Yeah.
fucking penny in his hand, and he's throwing pennies off the side of this high up thing. This cop sees him and stops him and says, "Hey, you little shit, don't throw pennies off the top of this thing. You can kill somebody." Because obviously you've heard stories of like back in
Yeah.
the old days with the Empire State Building, people would throw pennies and shit off the top of the Empire State Building, and sometimes that penny or whatever they threw would hit somebody in the head and kill them down at the bottom. Like
That could
that's a real
happen,
thing. That
yeah.
happened, yeah. Few
Yeah.
times. So he tells the kid, "Hey, don't do that. You're gonna fucking kill somebody." And then he walks away. The kid is a little shit, so of course he still throws the penny off the top of the thing,
Yeah.
right? The penny immediately gets caught by a crosswind and blows right back underneath the needle into a vent, right? And you're following this penny going through the vent, and it gets stuck in an air vent fan, like right
Yeah.
in the fan to where the fan stops, and it's just stuck there, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, Paul and Iris are on top of the needle. They're talking, and he proposes to her. He pulls out a ring
Yeah.
and says, "Hey, I love you. I wanted this to be really special, and will you marry me?" Right? At that very second, she gets a premonition, but we don't get to see what it is. She feels something. She noticed the wind is blowing a little bit harder up at the top. A woman next to her, her hat blows off of her head and over the side of the needle, and
Yeah.
the woman almost goes over with it, but doesn't. So she feels really uneasy. She knows something's not quite right. And I think that's where we see what's going on in the restaurant at the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
because
from this scene, we see in the restaurant there's people like dancing on a dance floor. By the way, the dance floor is completely glass, and you can see through the bottom of the restaurant straight down to the ground, right?
what's pretty fucking stupid, but yeah.
Yeah, this whole setup bothers me, dude. So here's the thing: there's a certain amount of suspension of disbelief that you have to have for films, right? And this is one of those ones that you kind of have to because there's no
Yeah.
fucking person that would sign the license for this fucking thing to be built the way that it's built.
Yeah, no. Not at
This
all.
is a
No.
disaster waiting to happen.
The thing is, even specifically, yeah, it's stupid. But with Final Destination movies, nah, a lot of things that happen, you can always bring it back to the point that death is the killer in these movies, and death is
Right.
this divine entity or whatever. So if death wants something to happen, it will make it happen. And
Right.
you can say like a lot of things that happen that aren't realistic, no, that it's happening because death is making it happen because they have like this
Yeah.
divine entity that is the killer. So the thing is today, I think there are certain floors that are made that way, but I'm not sure if they're made out of if it's not normal glass. I'm not even sure if it's glass that they use. No, but
It's well, okay, so if you were going to build this structure and not to get into the weeds or
yeah,
anything, but there
yeah,
are examples of this like you said. The Grand Canyon has a bridge
yeah,
that goes out over the Grand Canyon that's completely glass. It's not necessarily glass. It's extremely thick tempered glass that even if you struck it with a fucking sledgehammer, it wouldn't crack. Like that's how indestructible this stuff is.
yeah.
Now, this is back in 1968, so I'm not really sure they had the technology to create that kind of glass at that time
Now,
or not.
no.
I don't think they did.
No, it's just normal glass, and it's like you
Yeah.
literally. I think even before they went up and Paul proposed to Iris, you could see one or two cracks in the floor.
That's what it was. There's a chandelier that's in the room that's made
Yeah,
completely out of glass crystals, right? And a glass crystal gets hit by a wine cork that's popped open on a glass of champagne cork. Champagne cork flies and hits the chandelier and loosens a shard of glass, right? That shard of glass then falls onto the dance floor where people are dancing and puts a tiny crack in the floor. That's the part we forgot. Okay.
yeah. Because
So that happens before he proposes to her, right?
yeah, but that also hints to the thing that death made that happen. No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is one of those movies that I don't think it would be a good standalone. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to know what happened in the other Final Destination films to really get
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
going on here. But everything from the penny to the crack in the glass on the dance floor to what we see next is all death doing this stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
So we get the crack in the dance floor. We get the penny that has been thrown off the side that is now holding back a ventilation shaft fan. We zoom back in on that penny, and that penny is being pushed really hard by this fan. The fan finally gets past the penny, and the penny is shot by that force back through the ventilation shaft and hits the gas line that leads up to the gas grills and everything else that's up in the kitchen. And that gas line
Not yet.
now starts leaking because it puts a fucking hole in it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not sure, but yeah, that could be. Or
I
no,
think that's
because I'm not sure because the Iris and Paul go back and they start to dance or whatever. But
mhm.
the glass floor breaks first before the fire starts,
Yeah.
right?
The glass floor is the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
thing to
yeah.
break. Yeah, that's the first thing to break. So it broke first when the shard of glass fell onto it. The penny was already in the ventilation shaft. Now we see the penny hit the gas line. The gas line breaks and it's spewing gas into the room because that's a ventilation shaft, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the fan is going. So it's sucking all that gas and blowing it into the room where all the people are. Why nobody smelled that is beyond me, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That like this is a full-on gas leak, right? It's blowing into the
Yeah.
room. You see Iris and her fiance come back downstairs. She said yes to the proposal, obviously. She told him, by the way, that she was pregnant. He was happy about it. So they come out downstairs and go to the dance floor and start dancing.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, she's had this premonition upstairs. We didn't get to see what it was, but she knows something's off. People start dancing on the dance floor. She notices that it's cracking. She looks down and she's like, shit, the dance floor's cracking. Instead of saying something to anybody else that's on the dance floor, she backs off the dance floor and stands on the carpet, the rug. At that second, the fucking floor collapses.
Yeah, it
The
breaks and
fucking glass breaks, and everybody that is on that dance floor falls to a horrible death. And this scene is really well done. So there's a lot of CGI here. I don't know if you could tell there was CGI. I couldn't.
Yeah.
It was done really, really well. Everybody falls to the floor. They're hitting girders on the way down that are supporting the thing, like people banging their heads on these things, hitting them on the way down. You get a shot down at the bottom where the security guards standing outside the place are listening to music, and all of a sudden bodies start falling around them and exploding on the ground because this is really high up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that happens. She realizes that Paul actually fell through as well, but he's grabbing onto a piece of glass. Like there's parts of this floor that are shattered, and there's big chunks of glass that are still there that haven't fallen through. Paul is hanging onto one of these things with both his hands, and this is a kind of a tough thing to watch because he's gripped onto this thing, and the whole time he's holding onto this thing with his weight, it's cutting his hands badly.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah,
blood.
that part. Oh, yeah.
Ugh,
That
I
part was
fucking
pretty
hate
bad.
that shit. Like I can stand a lot of things in horror movie, like full on murder, blood, explosion, stuff like that. I can handle, and I can handle this, but it is very hard to
Yeah.
watch because you're looking at his hand slide down this glass, and the whole time it's just
Yeah,
cutting
yeah.
deep into his hands. Eventually, he slides down the whole thing and falls off too to his death. He's dead. She's standing there. Everybody has realized in the restaurant what's happened. So now there's
Every
people spread all the way around this thing, around where the dance floor fell out, and they're all trying to move to one side, right?
Yeah.
Or they're all trying to move away from the floor. At that time, the gas catches a flame in the restaurant, and
And
basically
everything goes
there's a
up. Yeah.
huge fucking gas explosion right after the dance floor fell. So There's a huge fireball in the place. A lot of people get torched, right? So there's people running around on fire now. She's
Yeah.
not one of them. She's okay. Iris is okay. So one side of this big ring is now a ring of fire, right?
Yeah.
Like the song at the beginning of
Ring of Fire.
the movie.
Yeah.
Nice touch. So bunch of people on fire on this side of the restaurant, and this side of the restaurant is not on fire. So the people who are not on fire are trying to get to the other side to get
Yeah.
away from the
Yeah.
fire, including
Everybody's
Iris. She makes it over to the other side. She sees a young boy who is the son of the black woman that spoke to her earlier, right? And she sees the woman that spoke to her earlier, the singer. She passes them by, gets on the other side. The mother is burned, so the mother is burned to death. She's probably already dying. She takes the little boy and stuffs him away inside of a cabinet. So she takes him, stuffs him away in the cabinet, closes the door, and this cabinet is on the other side where they're going to.
Yeah, that's the mother of the boy does that.
Oh, does the mother do it? Okay, the
Yeah,
mother
the mother,
does it.
mother of the
And
boy
yeah,
does that, and then the fire catches her and she gets killed.
yeah, and she gets killed.
Yeah.
So she died in the explosion, but not before stuffing her son into the cabinet. So everybody's heading over to the other side of this huge restaurant, and you start to hear the steel girders in the needle start to crack a little bit. Like you hear the sounds of metal twisting and bending as the restaurant starts leaning to one side, right?
Yep, yep.
Everybody that was in this restaurant that's still alive is now on the other side. This thing is leaning and looks like it's about to go over. People are sliding into the glass, smacking themselves into the glass because this thing is leaning like this now. And then eventually the whole thing breaks and falls, and Iris falls too. And what you see is her falling from the very top of this thing. You get kind of like a worm's eye view of this spike of glass that's down at the bottom, and her falling out of the top. And she slowly falls, and her eye goes right through this thing. So you get this really brutal, gory death.
I know, but I think you forgot one or two things, Matt.
What did I forget?
Because before that, there was fire going on and everything. And shortly when the tower started to tilt, a lot of people fell onto the glass door, and everything was fine. But there was a piano that was
that's right, the fucking piano. Yeah.
Then the penny. The penny that went through the air shaft fell onto the piano, and that made the piano then fall off and break the glass. Then after that, Iris got the little kid out of the box, tried to save him, try to get out everywhere. And before that, there was everybody's panicking. This one guy that was the elevator operator, he's like, "No, we have to go down the stairs." And people start going down the stairs.
Right. Yeah.
People start going down the stairs, and then the chairs break off, and then you have this brat fucking kid seeing that happen, laughing, and then just running down the stairs. What a fucking
that little shit.
Yeah, that little shit. And then he's like, then he's totally then the elevator operator is totally panicking. We all have to stay calm. We all have to stay calm. Go to the elevator. But he's the only one. I mean, everybody's panicking, but he's the worst one in this situation. Then they go to the elevator, and they have it's totally fucking full except for this one asshole guy that was not gonna let Iris and Paul in. No, he couldn't get in, and they just basically put him out to go fuck yourself. No, then pretty much after all of that, a lot of chaos going on, the thing happens that you explained. That Iris and
there's a great death there that we missed too.
Yeah.
The guy who was letting people into the party is one of the guys who really wants to get on the elevator and get out of there. The elevator is at max capacity, but he's trying to get on. The door closes on him, right? So he's kind of stuck in between being on the elevator and off the elevator, right? This is one of the best deaths in the film. I can't believe I forgot this. So this guy is stuck between being on the elevator and not on the elevator, and then the cable snaps on the elevator. So all those people on the elevator then fall to their deaths. As that happens, he is cut in half, straight down the middle, and the rest of him kind of falls on the floor in front of the elevator as it plummets down with all these people in it. So all that happens before Iris dies. Yeah. You're going to have to forgive me because we just saw this movie yesterday and you can't take notes while you're in the theater watching a movie. Unlike at home. When you're at home, you can take notes and write stuff down. So we might forget a few things and we might have to jump back and forth, but just bear with us, right? So this whole scene, Mike, I'll say, is probably the best opener to one of these Final Destination films I've seen. This is really well done. It sets the tone for the movie. I think the only one that did it just as good, if not better, was the first movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. But exactly. But this is you're right. I agree with you on that. But it's of course at this point it's a basic Final Destination opening. I mean, it's good, it's well done, but I mean, when you see it, you could just walk into this scene and know you're watching a Final Destination movie. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's nothing entirely new, but it's just like you said, Matt. It's like the first one that done it just as good as it's the first movie that done just as good as the original.
Right. So there's a thing like you have people like us that really love horror films and kind of know what they're talking about, and they'll hate a film or the next film follow up or the follow up to that film
Yeah,
because it follows
yeah,
the same formula as the last film. I don't know, like I can't get with that because if you liked that, it's like Friday the 13th. You're gonna go see a Friday the 13th movie because you know Jason is gonna walk around and he's gonna murder a bunch of people in really cool ways. That formula works great. There are millions of people who will show up to see that film just to see that. So if somebody's complaining about the fact that this film is no different than the other ones, shut the fuck up. Who cares? That's why people love this movie. If you want to switch
yeah.
up the formula a little bit, that's cool. But I mean, the main thing that keeps people coming back to the film has to remain intact, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just like the thing is, it's the same with people with complaints like that are stupid. It's a slasher, horror movie, and that's basically what it's about. And if you complain about that, you kind of just complain about Final Destination movies being Final Destination movies. It's the same thing,
Right.
not necessarily horror, when people basically complain about superhero movies, for example, like, oh,
Yeah.
it's all the same shit as that, blah blah. Yeah, it's a fucking superhero movie. That's what superhero movies are. If you don't like it, just
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that happens everywhere. I just find these criticisms extremely fucking stupid because at the end of the day, you're argumenting and complaining about a horror movie basically being a horror movie.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like to go back to metal, it's kind of the same thing. Like
yeah,
if you like Slayer, right? Then you can expect that the formula is going to be the same. Like those guys never tried to reinvent the wheel, and nobody that came after them that was a great metal band tried to reinvent the wheel. You listen to a Slayer album because you want to hear Slayer and you want to hear them do what they do. You listen to a Lamb of God album because they do what they do really fucking well. And the minute they try to change the formula a little bit, everybody fucking complains. Like, oh, that's not Slayer. What is this shit? This is different. Well, yeah, but they're trying to like breathe some new life into stuff, and
yeah,
sometimes that
yeah,
works, and sometimes that doesn't.
yeah,
But my point is, people are stupid as fuck because they're gonna complain either way. They're gonna
yeah,
complain
yeah, yeah,
that you didn't follow the formula and keep it exactly the way that I liked it. You did something different. And then you have the other people that are like, those guys suck because they never change the formula and they never do anything different. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's the same with things. You know, like
yeah,
I
yeah.
just I think people complaining about this stuff and getting so upset about it is so stupid because there's so many other things to be upset about, and you go to a horror movie to enjoy it.
Yeah, of
Right. At
course.
least I
Yeah,
do. I love horror because of the way it makes me feel and because it's not something you see every day. It's not run of the mill type stuff.
yeah, of course.
This
Yeah,
film this film does not change the way that Final Destination has done anything throughout all these years, but they do add some nuance to it and kind of close the circle, and that's why I love this film.
yeah.
Not to
That's what's good
mention
about it. Yeah,
every single kill in this film is done really
yeah,
well, and it keeps you waiting for the next one. Like this whole opening scene right here is badass because every death is palpable and feels weighted, and it's
yeah,
disgusting,
yeah.
and I love it.
But
So go ahead.
it does do one thing totally that I wasn't expecting when we saw the movie, nah, because the one thing this movie does different is right after Iris flies of all this thing and dies. That's usually the vision, the main protagonist in the movie has. Then it cuts
Okay.
back to shortly before that scene happened. But this is the one thing it separates it from all other Final Destination movies. From that point on, it cuts on to an entirely different character that has
Right,
nothing to do with Iris.
right, and
That was
yeah,
totally unexpected.
it flips the script too because
Yeah,
as the viewer, you are meant to think that when she dies right there, when she falls to the top and hits that piece of glass and dies, that she is somehow going to wake up in the car before she gets there because she just had that premonition. And like you said,
yeah,
that's not what happens. We flash forward to the future, right? To the present, and I'm assuming this is probably like right now, like 2025,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So we move forward to the future to a girl named Stephanie. right? And Stephanie what would you call? I think she's Asian, right? She's kind of an Asian mixed white
Yeah, half Asian.
girl,
She's
right?
half Asian. No? Yeah.
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 So you see her, and she's sitting in class having, well, we don't know she's sitting in class yet. She wakes up screaming,
Yeah.
right? And you realize she's not waking up screaming in a bed. She's waking up screaming in a college class that's full of people, and the fucking professor is giving a speech like right then and there. She screams in the middle of it. Everybody stops doing what they're doing and is looking at this girl screaming in the middle of class. The professor, just to like make some levity out of it, makes some joke and says, "Well, I guess I was really boring," or some shit like that. Bell rings. The whole class stands up and starts to walk out. The teacher's like, "Hey, Stephanie, I need you to come talk to me." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't get to see what that talk is about, but we find out later. So she then goes back to her dormitory, obviously, even though we don't see that, because the next scene we get is her waking up from another nightmare screaming, right? And it's
Yeah.
in her bed at her dormitory, and her roommate is right next to her in the bed across the way. And her roommate wakes up and is like, Jesus Christ, you have this nightmare every night, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it's keeping me from sleeping, and I'm going to start doing bad in school because you cannot quit from screaming in the middle of the night. And so Stephanie explains, well, it's the same dream that I always have, and it's about my grandmother, Iris. At
Yeah.
least I think it's Iris, is what she says. And she says
Yeah.
she was at the top of this restaurant and she died, and all these people died, and it's a horrific accident, and I keep having this dream. And her roommate's like, well, you are either going to die in this dream or I'm going to kill you in your sleep because you're keeping me awake. So you need to go
Just
visit your family,
yeah.
talk to them about Iris, and figure out what this is all about so that I can get some sleep and you can get some sleep. Fair enough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
She basically, between the lines, just tells her go home and just figure out whatever's wrong. Because
right.
probably you have some issues going on, and maybe your family can help you with it.
Yeah. So she then the next scene we get is her going home. So she took the advice and went home. So she's home. She knocks on the door, opens the door. Her dad's standing there, Asian guy, and he's like, "Hey, well, I didn't expect you. Okay, cool. Welcome home." Blah blah blah. Stephanie's brother walks down the stairs, and he seems like he's kind of like not wanting to see her or is not happy to see her. We don't know what that's about. He says, "Well, I'm gonna go meet the guys. I'm gonna go see our cousins or whatever." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, it's cool. I actually wanted to talk to you anyway, so I'll drive you there." So they go outside and they get in the car. Before that happens, she talks to her dad, right? I forgot about this part.
Yeah.
She says, "Hey,
Yes.
I need to know a little bit more about Grandma Iris, if she's alive, what happened to her, all this stuff." The dad seems very standoffish about that, like he doesn't want to talk about Iris. She says, "Hey, maybe mom knows something about Iris." And dad kind of explains, "Well, your mom took off on us. I haven't had contact with her for years. She's gone." So, but it's
Yeah.
probably not a good idea to talk to Uncle Howard about his sister, right? Which
Exactly.
that's where
Yeah.
she's going. She's taking her brother to the house of Uncle Howard, and he says, "Do not talk to Uncle Howard about his sister Iris. It's not going to be good if you do
Mother,
that." She doesn't.
not sister.
What is it? Mom,
Mom.
grandmother, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk to Uncle Howard about his mom. So she takes her brother and drives over to Uncle Howard's house. When they get there, you meet two other characters, which is
Yeah.
the cousins. So one of them's a metalhead, which I cannot remember his name right now, and then the other one who's kind of a jock.
Yeah. What was his name? I think
I don't remember.
Eric is his name.
Eric. Yeah.
Eric.
Okay.
Yeah. Eric. Yeah.
Yeah, Eric. So you meet those two characters when they walk in. They're playing video games. You kind of realize that they're completely different sides of the coin. One is obviously a jock. One of them's a metalhead. I really like Eric's character. He's probably my favorite character in the movie. I think you felt the same way. I think you even said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Because they're just like I love this character. He's like this. He's this typical metalhead, that like society sucks, everybody's a fucking idiot, no? That's how he behaves. But it's also, and there's like the way he acts, that's like when I was sitting there, that's like, God, that's pretty much the exact same fucking thing I would say or do. And also what it makes all these people in his family, I think, very sympathetic because they're like all these typical normie people. No, nice people, but normies. And they have like this one guy that's this extreme antisocial metalhead that just hates everyone. And they're not treating him like he's some fucking weirdo. He's just one of the family. He's just one of us. And they don't. That is, I think, the way they treat him. No, just make this entire family very sympathetic to me, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. These people are not. There's not one of them I don't like. I think that's the other thing. Like you.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the other Final Destination films you actually got to know characters a little bit before they were offed, but I actually liked every character in this family. I thought they were very sympathetic and very cool.
Yeah.
So she goes over there. She meets them again. There's also another character, a female character, which is the sister of those two guys. She's there as well.
Yeah.
Her brother sits on the couch with her and the other two guys, and they're just talking and kind of ignoring Stephanie, like as if she's not a part of the family anymore. That bothers Stephanie, but she's less concerned about that and more concerned about the Iris problem right now. So she goes to see her uncle. Uncle's a really fucking nice guy.
Yeah.
Really friendly, but when she brings up Iris, he's also kind of taken back and doesn't want to talk about it. But he's like, "Look, I don't want to talk about this. It's just a nightmare. It'll go away. Don't worry about it." Well, his wife is standing there, which is her aunt, and she's like, "Look, I know he doesn't want to talk about it, but maybe you can tell me what's going on." You know, the aunt explains, "Well, your grandmother kind of lost her mind and was sending us letters and pages from a book and all this crazy stuff about different ways that you can die. And it was just really insane stuff. She's obviously psychologically disturbed and she's still alive, which is interesting because we just saw her die at the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So now the audience, including me, is completely confused as to what's going on. So the aunt says, "Uncle would kill me if I told you where she lived. If I told you how to get in contact with her, he would hate me for the rest of his life." Eventually, Stephanie persuades her to give her some information. So her aunt is like, "Well, then I would definitely not look in the drawer underneath our table, whatever you do." Nice little hint. So she goes to the drawer underneath the table, pulls it out, and finds a book. The book has a picture of Iris and her fiance from that very day that she's having the flashback in her mind about. And there's an address there too.
Yeah.
Right? So, Stephanie now has the address. She locates Iris in this fucking
But there's
What?
But there's also a scene you forgot that was actually pretty kind of funny.
What?
Before the thing between Stephanie and the aunt happened, the father, Stephanie was kind of pressuring her uncle, and he also almost kind of flipped out on her, but didn't. He's telling her basically what a bad child he had because of his mother, whatever.
Yeah.
You have Eric coming in, like just sitting down the fridge. "Oh, we talking about Psycho Granny again."
Yeah.
I love that scene.
The guy's always got a fucking comment that's always out of the blue and a little bit disturbed.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about fucking Psycho Granny again. All right. I love that character. I actually, I don't want to give anything away yet, but when he gets off, it's a little sad. So she goes to the address that she finds in this book. And tell me, Mike, you have seen the new Halloween films, right? Where Jamie Lee Curtis's character is off in the woods, held up in this kind of woods fortress kind of thing. That's the vibes I got from this place. It looks like the same place where her character was living in the
How should I
Halloween
say it? I don't know. I mean, actually, that's not the vibes that I got. I mean, for me, this entire place felt like an amalgamation of The Walking Dead, Wrong Turn, and Evil Dead. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
I mean, an amalgamation of those entire settings. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a house in the middle of a clearing in the woods. It's completely fortified with a gigantic gate. There's almost like medieval looking sticks protruding from the property to keep whatever would want to come in out, right? She gets to the front gate. She notices there's an intercom. She hits the button and the voice of her grandma shows up and is like, "Get the fuck away from here. Leave immediately or I'm going to call the police." Stephanie says, wait. "I'm your granddaughter and I need to talk to you." And so immediately Iris's tone changes and said, "Okay, take your cell phone out and leave your cell phone there and leave anything electrical, anything you have in your pockets, including keys, leave it at the gate before you
Yeah.
come in here. Stephanie's confused by that, but does it. Grandma opens the gate. She enters into the property. This place is just fucking fortified to the nines, man. Like, there are little trips and tracks along the way that if you tripped and fell, you'd probably kill yourself. Like, she does not want anything getting into this house. Stephanie gets up there, gets to the door. I think the door's already unlocked. Am I right about that? I think she just walks in. I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I'm not sure.
She walks up
She
to the
comes
door.
up, the door, she walks in, yeah.
She says, "Come in." Stephanie goes in. There's no lights on in this house. This place looks dusty as fuck. A little bit dreary and a little scary. Goes into the house, and Grandma Iris says, "Stop right there. Don't move. Shut the door behind you." She shuts the door behind her. She says, okay, it's you. And she steps out of the shadows, and we get kind of this older version of Iris, the woman that we saw in the beginning of the movie. She looks like Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween film. Her hair
True.
is fucking just fucking crazy everywhere. She's wearing like clothes that look like they came from the 80s, you know. There's nothing in the house but like a computer and then like a place to cook or whatever. And she's like, okay, here's a chair. So she slowly brings a chair over and puts it down and says, now sit down. Sit down immediately. So she sits down and they start talking. Stephanie explains to her about the dreams that she's been having, right? She explains the whole thing to her. Iris is like, okay, that didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen is because I got a vision of it before it happened and stopped it. And I prevented everyone dying in that tower, including myself.
I think this is where it flashes back, because then it flashes back to what she actually did, no? Yeah.
So as she's telling this story, we get a retelling of the opening scene, which is everything happened up until the point that she pricked her finger on the rose that she put in her fiance's lapel. So that's the scene where it starts. She looks at the blood on her finger, and she has this premonition about what's about to happen, just like in the other Final Destination films. She leaves him standing there where he just proposed to her on top, runs downstairs, jumps on stage where the band is already playing, and says, everybody get off the dance floor. It's cracking. It's going to break. Everyone's going to die. Naturally, everyone in there is a little bit skeptical, but then they look at the ground and they realize that the dance floor underneath them is cracking and breaking. They move the fuck out of the way, and nothing happens. Did the kid get stopped from throwing the penny as well?
That's the first thing she did. She walked up to the kid and yanked the penny out of his hand.
That's right. Okay, I forgot that part. So yeah, she takes the penny away from the kid, which keeps it to where he does not throw it off the side and it gets stuck in the ventilation shaft. So crisis has completely been averted. This was a huge mistake because she cheated death and in effect made everyone else that was in that tower cheat death as well. So now she understands from all these years of watching what's happened since then that death is out to get her and that death is trying to kill her. She knows this because all of the other people that were in the tower and their families that they've produced since that point are all dead. And she's kept a record in her book of everyone who's died, how they died, when they died, and traced them all back to the tower. So Granny's got this shit already figured out, right? She knows exactly what's going to happen. She's held herself up in this place for what we can expect since 1968 until now, a really fucking long time, right? She explains this to Stephanie. She says, look, you should stay here with me because you're safe here. Death cannot come in here. Death cannot affect me in here. There's nothing in here that can kill me. As they're sitting there talking in these two chairs, she accidentally, I think she throws a book over on the table or something like that, right? Yeah. And it hits her magnifying glass on the table, and the magnifying glass shifts on its arm and comes into the light, and a light beam that's coming through the windows at the top hits the magnifying glass and shoots over to one of her hanging plants, the rope that's on the hanging plants, and starts burning the rope. She doesn't know this. The audience knows this because we see it. She's sitting there, and while she's talking to Stephanie, she goes, and then looks over and notices that the plant rope is being burnt and is like, ha, got you, motherfucker, trying to get me because she's like talking to someone who's not there. And Stephanie's like, what the fuck? She's like, yeah, see, death is trying to kill me right now because he knows I'm distracted because you're here. So she gets up and knocks the magnifying glass away so that it doesn't burn the rope. Stephanie thinks she's fucking nuts, and I would too.
Of course, yeah. Everybody would think that, no?
Yeah, she thinks she's nuts. So Stephanie's like, you know what? It was a mistake coming here. I'm gonna leave now. So, good to see you again. Goodbye. Goes to the door and runs out.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to get out of there because she thinks she's fucking nuts. Stephanie makes it halfway out of the property. Iris walks up to the door and is scared to step past the door. Like we get this scene where she's looking at the threshold of the house and her foot about to step over it, and you get the feeling like she hasn't stepped over that threshold in probably 30 years or something like that, right? She realizes she has to. She takes a book that's got all of her writing in it and everything that she's kept track of and runs out of the house after Stephanie. Stephanie stops because she calls her
Yep.
and she says, if you're going to leave, you need to take this book with you because this is your proof that all this stuff is real and there's things in here that will keep you alive. And she says, why would I take it? And she's like, well, because I want you to understand that this is real. And she looks at Stephanie and realizes that Stephanie still doesn't believe any of this is real and thinks she's crazy. So she says, okay, you know what? Here's the book. Now stand back. Right? Stephanie's like, what the fuck do you mean stand back? She's like, no, seeing is believing. Right? So stand back. So Stephanie stands back. Iris is standing there in the middle of the yard. She puts her arms out like this. And all of a sudden, the weather vane that is on top of her house breaks because of the shifting wind, falls, hits I think it's like a propane tank.
Yeah.
If it's not a propane tank, it's some air tank or something like that.
Yeah.
It hits an air tank, punctures it. The air tank like immediately starts spewing the gas out of it. Hits the weather vane, and the weather vane flies immediately into the back of Iris's head and out the front of her face.
Yeah.
And dude, this death is insane. This is one of the most graphic deaths I've seen in this film series, and it's really well done. It literally goes into the back of her head and out the front of her mouth. Her face basically explodes, and you've got the weather vane sticking out of her face with her jaw attached to it, right? And I remember, like, I don't know if you heard me because you were like on the other side of me, but did you hear me clapping? I was like, yes.
Yes, I heard. I saw you. Yeah.
It's a great death scene, dude. Great fucking death scene. CGI, because there's really no other way they could have done that but with CGI, but it was done really fucking well. So now Grandma Iris is dead, right? And Stephanie is now a total believer. She's like, okay, there's something to this stuff.
Not yet. Because she just fucking then they're at the funeral of Grandma Iris's. She's not a believer yet. Now they have have this funeral going on. You shortly talking to her dad and her uncle. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry, it was a mistake to go there. No. Then the camper pulls up, and her uncle is like, hey, don't flip out. I emailed her, and now you know that Stephanie's mom is coming.
Right. So Stephanie's mom is there in the camper now at the funeral. I think she steps out of the camper to kind of show herself, but she doesn't really say hi to anybody. So we know her mother's back. The entire family then heads to Uncle Howard's house for a barbecue. Right. Yeah. So a lot of American families do this. I kind of feel like it's an odd tradition, but I kind of get it at the same time. So if a family member dies, everybody goes to the funeral and then goes back to somebody's house from the family and everybody eats dinner or hangs out to kind of remember the person's life. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're getting now. So they go to Uncle Howard's house. There's the two siblings are outside preparing everything for the barbecue. The sister and the jock brother. Right? And this is where you start to get hints that something bad is about to happen. And they've done this in the other Final Destination films, but this scene it's dragged out for so long. They kind of kill every expectation that you think somebody's going to die. First of all, it's like a glass breaks while they're preparing everything, and there's kind of a sink full of ice there. A big ass nasty shard of glass falls into that ice, and it's sitting there. So now you know that piece of glass is there. Nobody's paying attention to it. They start filling other glasses with the ice out of that tub, and you see that big nasty shard of glass go into a glass. You don't know who's going to get that glass, and it's not apparent who gets that glass during this barbecue.
Yep.
But they do that, and they hand everybody a drink. Everybody's there. The whole family's there. They toast to Iris's life, and they all take a sip of the drink. The whole time, I don't know if you noticed this, but you can hear ice crunching as people are chewing the ice, and it's every member of the family. You get like a scene of them chewing the ice, and you hear it, and you're like, okay, did they get the glass in their glass? Like, are they the one chewing on the fucking glass shard? You don't know. And it's really well done. At the same time, the brother and the sister are jumping on a trampoline that's in the yard, right? And this trampoline, because these guys are kind of young adults, they're heavy, right? So the bottom of the trampoline when they jump is getting really close to the ground, and you realize that there's a really jagged, rusty, sharp rake that's underneath the trampoline.
Yeah.
So at any moment, if they decided to come down on that thing, it would completely stab their feet, like badly, and possibly
Yeah.
somebody could bleed to death. So you're seeing that happen the whole time. The whole while, everyone is drinking out of these glasses. So you're like, okay, what's going to happen first? Is it going to be somebody chokes on the shard of glass,
Yeah.
or is somebody going to kill themselves with this fucking rake that some stupid fucking person put under this tramp? Who the fuck would do that, Mike? Like, is this?
Somebody that, yeah.
Come on. If you had a trampoline as a kid, you know you don't put anything underneath it, and there's this giant jagged rake underneath the trampoline.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's all going. Just like I said, it's all going between like the trampoline and the rake, no, and the glass splitter. Because then all of a sudden it shows that the glass splitter is in the dad's cup, but somehow through coincidences, no, the glass shard really somehow gets from one cup because somebody else takes that other cup and then carries it over to another place, no? And then you see like the trampoline starting to rip, no? Then all of a sudden, like Stephanie's mom is like, stop, like totally fucking panicking. And everyone's like, what the fuck is her problem? She walks up and pulls out the rake from underneath the trampoline. And it was, oh yeah, good that you saw that. And okay, so that's apparently not going up. And you still don't know what's happening.
And
no?
she takes the rake and puts it up against the fence, right?
Yeah.
Like, kind of haphazardly against the fence to where it's kind of leaning to where if it got a little bit of a push, it would fall, right? So she's put it there.
Yeah.
Somehow, after this happens, and I don't remember how because I can't find it in the write-up anywhere, and I cannot remember it, the glass shard ends up on the ground.
Yes. Actually, there's multiple things that happen here. That's what's complicated because you have like those rakes and the other garden tools now on the fence. Wind blows, that blows them over. That causes some kind of a scare, and then the glass falls over, and the glass shard is laying on the floor now. Exactly. Then the mother.
I thought the rake is what falls later. I think we might be remembering this incorrectly, both of us.
Maybe.
But I think that's what it was. The sister takes a sip out of her glass and goes, "Oh shit!" And everybody's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she's like, "It's this flavor of drink that I hate." And she spits it out and then dumps the glass of ice out on the ground that has the shard of glass in it. That's what happens.
Exactly. That's what happens.
That's
exactly.
what happens.
Because then you see like the.
Yeah.
You see, like the mom of the family, doing something, carrying, I think, bowls back and forth. I'm not entirely sure. She knocks over a beer bottle. That beer bottle falls over and hits the lawnmower, and then the lawnmower starts. In the same moment, you have like
wait. So the uncle has gotten on the trampoline and is jumping on the trampoline, right?
Yeah.
Gets off the trampoline, steps on the shard of glass, which we see go through his foot, like down through the bottom and out the top. So he's standing there and falls back on his back onto the ground screaming because he stepped on this huge shard of glass. At that time, that bottle that's sitting on the side of the table falls and breaks and hits the rake, and the rake falls onto the lawnmower and starts the lawnmower, which this is an electric lawnmower. It's not one of the pull stars.
Yeah.
So the rake falls, hits the lawnmower, starts the lawnmower. It tilts backwards because the bottom wheels are coming, so the front of it comes up. Uncle is laying on the ground with this glass shard in his foot. It gets started, comes over here, and lands on his head, and just fucking destroys his entire upper body, dude.
Yeah.
It's, you know what though? Like, this is a pretty gory scene, and it's really well done, but I laughed my ass off in the theater, dude. I laughed my ass off because it is not at all what anybody expected. Like, I expected so many other things other than what happened. So this movie does a great job of curbing your expectations about how somebody's going to die, because it gave you 4 different scenarios of how you could die there, and the one that you didn't see coming is what kills him, and I love that.
Yeah.
And that's why I laughed. So next scene you get is his funeral.
Yeah. right after the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we go to Uncle Howard's funeral. Everybody's really sad. And they kind of don't know what happened. Everybody is just floored, as anybody would be. If this happened to your family, everybody would just be in utter shock and disbelief. Mm-hmm. This is what makes Stephanie jump into fucking Grandma Iris is correct. She's absolutely right. I see what's going on here. Because now she's dead. Huh?
Not entirely, because Stephanie goes into the grandma's book and starts hanging up all of the notes
Right.
she had exactly after the
Well,
funeral.
that's what makes me think she's convinced. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
of course, yeah,
Because
yeah,
she wouldn't
yeah,
do that if she wasn't convinced. So the
yeah,
families come back from Uncle Howard's funeral, and the whole family's gathered in the den. She's pulling out pieces of
yeah,
the book and stapling it to the wall in kind of like a crime scene kind of thing, like where all the
yeah,
threads are connected and stuff. She's hanging it on the
exactly,
wall.
yeah,
The whole family's sitting there. She's explaining, okay, here's how this works. So, if this person avoids death, then every person that has been born because they survived death are now in the chain of death. So they will also die. And then she explains how it worked with Grandma Iris and her
yeah,
son. She says, so Grandma Iris died, which meant that her offspring, our uncle, Uncle Howard, is now dead. So people right after him are the next people in the chain. So the next person would be Eric. She points to Eric, the metalhead. And he's
yeah,
like, fuck you.
yeah,
he's,
yeah,
he's not buying any of this shit, right? He's like,
yeah, of
fuck
course
you.
not.
And then she says, after Eric, it'll be his sister. And then after his sister, it'll be her younger brother, the John.
Yeah,
So she
yeah,
explains that. And then she says, once it's done with that part of the family, then it will move to my mom's side of the family. So then
yeah,
she's in death's sight. After she's dead, then it's going to be me. And then it's going to be my younger brother. So death is going to kill us all. So right
yeah,
now we have to right. Nobody in this entire family is buying this. Nobody believes it. Everybody thinks she's ape shit crazy and are
yeah,
like, "Fuck you. We're leaving. You're insane." So everybody leaves the house, right?
yeah, yeah,
The next scene we get is Eric at work. So Eric is a
at work, yeah,
metalhead. Eric is also a tattoo artist, right?
yeah,
And I can't love this guy enough. He's sitting there and he's working on a girl who's in the chair. He's also a piercer, so he's piercing her tongue. While he's doing that, his boss walks by and says, "Hey, thanks for coming in and taking care of the shop today. I'm fucking leaving, so now you got to lock up." Eric's like, "What the fuck, man? I came in on my day off to help this guy out, and now he's gonna
yeah,
leave and make me lock up shop. That's bullshit." And he's saying this to this girl who's getting her tongue pierced at the same time, so she can't respond to him. But it's kind of like being in a dentist chair where the dentist is talking to you the whole time, but he's got his fingers in your mouth and asking you questions and you can't
yeah,
answer because his fingers are in your mouth, right? That's the scenario we get right now.
yeah,
We kind of get a view of his phone and he's got his mixes set up on Spotify. He's listening to a metal mix and it's called his work mix. And what we're listening to right now is Slayer. Slayer's playing awesome. But then he switches it from Slayer to his sad mix. So he has a sad mix, right?
yeah.
And I think, I don't know who the singer's name is. I want to say it's Celine Dion.
No, it's not.
Who is it? Who sings that fucking terrible song?
What song was it again?
I
Think
can't
of.
forget this feeling or your face as you were leaving, but I guess that's just the way the story goes.
No, no,
Fuck!
wait. I
This
got
is not
okay,
music
okay.
that I
Now,
listen to because,
now I have to know it.
but I know the fucking song. You're gonna have to look it up.
I know I like that. Actually, I like the song.
You like the song, dude? I can't stand it. This is fucking music my mother would play in the house because this is the kind of shit that she listened to, and it fucking droned on, and I hate it.
I think. Wait,
It's like
I think
it's an
I
emotional
think
mess.
it's REO Speedwagon. Maybe. Wait, what? Let me just wait. No,
REO Speedwagon did that
I
song?
think it's
No,
REO
dude, no.
Speedwagon. No, now I have
Okay,
commercials running. You could probably hear it. No, wait, no, that's not it. No,
no, that's not
no,
it.
because it was a woman singing.
We'll
Huh?
go back. I can't remember what
Yeah,
song it is, dude. But it's one of those cheesy fucking songs that women that were born in the '60s play. It's like female sap song, and this is his sad song from his sad playlist. What? Why are you looking at me like that?
60s. I would say more 90s, not 60s. That's why I'm looking at. Yeah, I mean,
No. Women born in the '60s would play this song. It's a modern song, but I mean, like that's the
yeah.
age group of women that would play this song. Okay, so it's not fitting to a metalhead anyway. Like when you're sad, Mike, what music do you listen to?
When I'm sad, I listen to Jefferson Starship. Actually,
Okay, that's not that bad. I like Jefferson
yeah,
Starship.
yeah.
That's cool.
Jefferson.
Okay.
Yeah,
So anyway, he's listening to this sad music, and He's sitting there crying, and he starts tattooing on his arm. And you
Mhm.
get like a close up of him putting this tattoo on his arm. You don't know what the tattoo is,
Mhm.
but he's tattooing his own arm. And while this is happening, you see that the ceiling fan that's on right now is dangerously close to some decorational chains that are hanging from the ceiling. Like this is a metalhead's tattoo shop. There's chains everywhere. There's movie posters up from horror films. There's metal posters up, stuff like that. The fan is getting dangerously close to these chains, and one of the chains that's attached to the ceiling is coming loose, right? And so one of those chains, while he's tattooing, is starting to come loose.
Yeah.
He gets done with the tattoo, and you see his arm, and it's tattooed in old English letters, "Dad," because his dad just died, right? So he's done with the
Yeah.
tattoo, and he's sitting there. By the way, this guy is also pierced all over his body. He's got like an eyebrow piercing, a whole bunch of like ear piercings, and a septum piercing, right? And the septum piercing is pretty
Yeah.
big. So he gets done with the tattoo. The chain comes loose from the ceiling, falls in between the fan blades, and then loops around and catches his septum piercing right on his nose.
Right here.
This is a bit ridiculous, but okay. So it catches his nose, and so now his nose piercing is stuck on this chain that's going through the fan blades to the ceiling. So the whole time that the fan is turning,
Yeah.
it's pulling the chain upwards. So here's this guy now sitting here with this chain attached to his nose. He didn't seem really alarmed or startled by this either. Did you
Yeah.
get that feeling? Like he
Yeah.
just didn't seem to care. He was like, "Oh shit, where's the fucking chain coming from? I gotta fucking."
Yeah.
So he's trying to undo this chain the whole
Yeah.
time it's going up. So he has to stand up and then start standing on things while he's going up to try to get this thing off because it's going up into the roof. The whole time that happens, I guess there's a what was it? There's like this bobblehead Danzig skull that's there that's been moving
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
music the
Exactly.
whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was dangerously close to the edge and about to fall when he turned off the metal music. So he turned off the
Mm-hmm.
metal music and put on fucking Celine Dion or whatever the fuck that song was, and it stopped edging towards the side. But now, since he's having to stand on the counter, like the tattoo shop counter, to try to get this thing out of his nose
Yeah.
before he's pulled into the ceiling, he steps on the counter and that thing falls, right? When it falls onto some type of flammable liquid, like a bottle of flammable liquid that falls and it starts
Yeah.
going all over the ground, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it catches fire because I can't remember. Do you remember what
I
causes
think a
this thing?
spark happens. I think some I'm also not sure. I think there's I don't fully remember how however I think something happens and then the disinfectant starts to burn.
Yeah, it's disinfectant,
And
right?
then he
It's
then he
disinfectant because
is
tattoo
trying
studio.
to yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Then he's still the chain is further pulling him up, and he's trying to get the fucking thing out of his nose. Now, finally manages to
Right.
get it out of his nose, and then falls over like this big heart-shaped metal piece that was
Yeah, it's
laying
like
in
a
the
piece
fire.
of it's a piece of jewelry that's
Yeah,
being
yeah,
sold
exactly,
in the tattoo shop,
exactly.
and
And he
it's been
fights.
on fire, so it's hot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he falls right on it with his arm. No, well, basically, then burns him. No,
yeah, right
and
on the
then you
tattoo.
just at that point just yeah, and at that point you just see everything burning. No, the entire tattoo
Yeah,
studio burning. Yeah,
you get a view from outside the tattoo
yeah,
studio, and everything on the inside is on fire, and he's screaming. So we assume that he died in a fire,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, so we think that he's been eliminated and dead. So the next day, or it might actually be, yeah, it's the next day. Stephanie is still at her uncle's house, her dead uncle's house, and she's been trying to get in
yeah,
touch with Eric this entire time because she knows that he's up next, right? So she's trying to get him. Her brother is trying to get him on the phone. Nobody seems to think it's weird that he hasn't answered his phone except for Stephanie. She's freaking out. All of a sudden, Eric shows up at the house. He's like, "Well, I have a new branding on my arm," and he's got like a band-aid over his arm from where he had the tattoo, and opens it,
yeah,
and you see the
yeah,
burned heart over the word "dad" that he just tattooed because his arm fell on that burnt piece of metal, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
Stephanie's like, "Wait a minute, you didn't die? Like there was a fire at your tattoo shop and you didn't die? What's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, you're full of shit. You're fucking crazy. It was just a freak accident. Nothing happened to me. This is stupid as fuck. You need to leave," is what he tells her.
yeah,
And then she is still convinced he's going to die. So she follows him outside. And the sister follows him outside as well. And they're arguing in the parking lot about, hey, you're still in line to die, you're going to die. He doesn't believe anything she says. He's like, this is ridiculous. He's like,
Yeah.
you're stupid, and he starts backing out into the street, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we've seen this in the first Final Destination film where one of the girls gets clobbered by a bus. Like, it just
Yeah.
comes out of
Yeah,
nowhere,
exactly.
fucking
Exactly.
hits her, and she's dead as fuck. It's a horrific scene. So we think that's going to happen here. So he backs out into the street, you hear something
Yeah.
coming, and here comes the fucking bus, but it just misses him. It goes right behind him. And Stephanie's like, see, it's trying to get you. He's like, you're fucking crazy. That thing missed me. We're good.
Yeah.
Garbage truck is coming down the street. Garbage truck pulls up to pick up the trash can. He's like, oh, wait, this garbage truck could kill. This is a great scene, by the way. He's like,
Yeah.
this garbage truck could kill me. Let me walk up to this garbage truck. So he walks up to the garbage truck and he like acts like he's trying to bang it. He's like slapping the fucking tires like it's an ass. He's like, oh yeah, garbage truck, fucking take me right now. Like, I'm dying at this scene because it's funny. Like this actor is fucking great. Garbage truck doesn't do anything to him and it keeps going. He's like, see, you're fucking nuts. The sister comes out at the same time and she's like, yeah, you should just leave. This is stupid. And she starts running,
Yeah.
like for a jog. The sister starts going for a jog in the other direction. And in the other direction is also the direction the garbage truck has gone to stop and pick up its next load, right?
Yeah.
Um, you see that a guy is outside blowing leaves with a leaf blower, and that these kids are
Yeah.
kicking a soccer ball. And Eric's like, "Oh, yeah, so I can't go that way. What's going to happen to me if I go that way?" And she's like, well, there's one of those tree cutter things that's right there, and it could fall, and it could hit the guy who's got the leaf blower, and he could accidentally fall and then blow the kids, and the ball could come and hit you in the face and push you into traffic and you could die. He's like, you're absolutely fucking insane. Meanwhile, we're watching his sister run past the garbage truck, and that thing falls from the tree, hits the guy with the leaf blower. The leaf blower guy falls, and he blows the kids who have the ball. They kick the ball, and it hits her as she's running past the garbage truck, and she falls immediately into the trash can
Yeah. Yeah.
that the garbage truck is now picking up. So it
Hmm.
picks her up in the fucking trash can and dumps her into the back of the garbage truck where there's a trash compactor, right? Stephanie sees this, all of them see it, and they start chasing the garbage truck because they know she's in there in the compactor, right? Such a fucking great scene, dude. Love this shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're all running alongside the garbage truck trying to get the guy's attention who's driving the vehicle, right? There was
Yeah.
some funny joke here that I can't remember exactly what it was.
Also makes it ridiculous. It makes also jokes about a lot of a cliche type, because they're running after him, trying to get his attention because they know that their family member is in the garbage truck, and he's listening to this song, barely even looking at the street, and half the time, this is like this middle-aged guy that's probably in his mid-50s or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's on fucking Tinder, swiping,
Swipe.
girls that are in their 20s, swiping them all to the right.
It's great, dude. Like the writing and the screenplay
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then stuff like this. It's sometimes this is what makes it for me because horror films
Yeah,
are
yeah,
really good at creating tension. So when you add in little jokes like
yeah,
that every here and there, it just makes you laugh because
yeah,
you know what's going to happen. Somebody's
yeah,
going to die horribly. But you get these little instances of laughs and tongue-in-cheek humor in there, and it's great. I
yeah.
fucking love the scene.
Exactly. Yeah,
So this guy's swiping Tinder and he's listening to music at the same time while he's driving the garbage truck.
yeah,
They realize they're not going to get his attention by running alongside of the truck. So they run in front of the truck to try to get him to stop. So the two brothers run in front of the truck, or actually him and Stephanie run in front of the truck. The garbage guy
yeah.
stops. Stephanie
No,
climbs
no.
up.
It's Eric and Stephanie's brother because
Right.
Stephanie is now she's already on the truck.
Hmm. So Stephanie has already climbed up the side of the truck to
Yeah,
the top where the compactor is. Those two guys have stopped the truck. She gets to the top. The compression of the compactor has already started, right? So it's pushing in closely to her.
yeah, yeah,
Stephanie's at the top. She says, "Give me your hand. I got to get you out of here." The sister or her cousin reaches
cousin.
up to grab
Yeah,
her hand,
yeah,
and we get this horrific death, dude. Like this is a good one. So
yeah,
she
yeah,
sticks her head out of the top of the compactor, kind of halfway, like right here, and her arm is reached out, grabbing Stephanie's hand. But there's not enough space to get her out of there in time, so the thing closes on her, and it closes right here on her face. So you slowly watch her head get cut in half. Her eyes bulge out. Her teeth break out, her
yeah.
arm gets cut off, and Stephanie's holding onto it. Like, it's a really horrific death. Like this is also CGI, but very, very well done. Like it was hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
It was. It was. Yeah.
So yeah, now she's dead. The sister of the other two brothers is dead. So Eric and I can't remember the other brother's name, but the jock.
Yeah.
So she's dead. The next scene we get is back at the uncle's house with his wife, right? Stephanie's sitting there and Eric's sitting there and they're talking to her and they're like, this makes no, Stephanie's like, this makes no sense that she was the next to die. It should have been Eric because he's older than her. What in the world? And the mom is like, well, that's because Death probably knew something that nobody else knows except for me, right? And they're like, what? What? When she's like,
Yeah.
your uncle was not actually the birth father of Eric, which means Eric's not actually in the family chain to die, right?
Yeah.
So Eric is now safe from dying, but now he's just discovered that his dad, that he thought was his dad his entire life, is not really his dad. His
Yeah.
dad actually ends up being who? Some fucking weirdo, right?
Some neighborhood weirdo. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And
He's like,
just
oh my
flips
god,
out.
that's my fucking dad? That
Father?
fucking guy?
And then he runs down the hallway shortly before he leaves the room. Is that why that motherfucker always wanted to play catch?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this scene's great. This whole movie's chock full of stuff like this, and
Yeah.
I don't remember the other Final Destination movies being this funny. Like
No,
they
not at
they
all.
really no, not even close. They really do a good job with the humor in this film. So we realize Eric is not the one that's up next, but we realize it's actually the Jock brother, right? The Jock brother is up next because his sister was older than him and she just died. So now he's up. It was hinted at earlier that he has a peanut allergy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a peanut allergy. And so that was hinted at, so we know that. But before we get anything else, they go to the hospital because in Grandma's book, there was a name, right? There
Yeah.
was a name, William Bloodworth, right? William
Yeah.
Bloodworth is a guy that supposedly survived death. Like, he's
Yeah.
still alive, even though he was next to die in a chain of group of people who were going to die. He's
Yeah.
still alive. She finds his name in the book, and the family decide to go visit him because they want to know what the secret is to escaping this, right? So they have the address to where he works, which is in a hospital. So they all go to the hospital. It's
Yeah.
Eric, I think Stephanie's mom, and Stephanie as well. So Stephanie's mom,
Yeah.
Stephanie, Eric, the Jock brother who's supposedly the next person to die. They all
Yeah.
go to the hospital and they go down to the morgue. This is an interesting scene because you get the picture of a morgue door and it says autopsy in progress, like lit up, you know?
Yeah.
And they just walk right through the door, like fucking autopsy in progress. They walk
Yeah.
through the door. There's a guy who's performing an autopsy and he's got organs in his hand, like he's in the middle of the autopsy. And they're like, "Oh, are you William Bloodworth?" And he's like, "No, but he works here, and he's right over there." So they turn around, and you get the guy who has been in most of the Final Destination films.
Yes,
You might also
exactly.
know him as Candyman. He played Candyman.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of fucking horror, man. This guy's big in the horror genre.
Oh, well, this guy,
Yeah,
not
so
only
many
horror.
fucking
This guy
movies.
is probably he's been in pretty much everything, movies, TV
Yeah.
shows. I don't know. No, however,
I
but
mean,
this
I
is like a
remember
thing.
him most from horror though,
Yeah,
because
this
of
is like,
Candyman.
and this is like the thing where they finally, actually, after I don't know, over 20 years, 6 movies, they finally explain who this guy is. You
Yeah.
know, because I know very specifically, talking to other people, reading what people talk about this movie. No, because all the time, a lot of people were theorizing that this guy is actually Death. No, because in every
Right.
single movie, somehow he always seems to know what's going on, and he
Mhm.
always basically give these people, hints and guides on how they can get through this shit. So the only thing is, like, he has to be Death. That's what a lot of people were theorizing. No, but
I
that
mean, I
doesn't come
thought
out.
that too.
Yeah. But this is basically where it comes out differently because he explains actually finally who he is. He is actually the kid
Yeah.
that Grandma Iris saved back in the restaurant. No, and that those two,
Right.
him and her, were the last ones to die. No, so
Yeah.
he's been in contact with Iris all this time, and she's
Right.
done all this research. That's how he's known all of this shit, and he know
Right.
exactly these are like hundreds of people no, that are probably going to die. And it's probably going to take years, no?
Yeah.
So he knew all the time that he was going to be the last to die anyway.
Yeah. And the thing is, in this scene, he's well into probably his late 70s, early 80s, but he's also got
Yeah,
cancer, right?
yeah,
In this, and he says that he's like, well, death has not killed me yet because, like your grandma Iris, I'm one of the last people, so I'm up next. But
yeah,
guess what? I got cancer. So he has cancer, and the thing is that's really interesting about this, the actor himself had cancer
yes.
at this
Tony
time,
Todd, yeah,
and so.
yeah,
Tony Todd, and you see him, if you go back and look up who this guy is, or you remember Candyman, he's not a tiny guy. This guy is a very tall, somewhat built black man, right?
yeah.
In this
Mm-hmm.
movie, he is withered away to nothing. He is very, very thin, very sickly looking, and so the actual actor was dying at this time of cancer, which
Yeah,
makes this scene even more like special in
yeah,
terms of horror genre and everything else. I didn't know he had cancer. I feel like this is something the family didn't really let up on or let out
yeah,
until much later. But you see him in this movie and he's very thin and he's like, well, I'm gonna die anyway because I have cancer. I've been communicating with Iris for all these years. We both knew that we were next. He says something like, what is it exactly? He explains that to cheat death, one must either take another person's life or die and be revived. But he
yeah,
warns of the danger of interfering with death's plan. So effectively, he says, you can cheat this, but you have to die, physically die, and then be brought back to
yeah,
life somehow or resuscitated. That's the only way out of it. The only other way is that you take
yeah.
someone else's life, and whatever time that person had left, you get that time. So he explains that to them, and then he leaves. And that's the last time we see him. By the way, this is the last movie he did before he died. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
Sad
sucks.
because,
It's
yeah,
sad.
yeah, it's sad. I really like this
Mhm.
guy. I
Yeah, me
have
too.
really fond memories of him being in movies.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so that was his swan song. Anyway, we find all that out about how you can avoid death. Eric gets the crazy idea, which this is stupid as fuck. This is stupid as fuck. I don't like this, and there could have been better ways to do this, but
Well,
he get
actually, I
go ahead.
mean, I don't know. I mean, the dumbest thing is with the allergy thing. I mean, the thing is to kind of kill his brother and revive him. They're in a hospital, so the general consensus of the plan is not that bad, you know?
It's not, but there are better ways to
Yeah.
have someone be clinically dead and bring them back other than a fucking peanut allergy killing, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric is not the smartest guy, and that's okay. But he's like, hey, look, he goes to his younger brother and his
Yeah.
older brother, and he's like,
Younger.
younger brother, and he's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Younger
so
brother.
you
Yeah.
have a peanut allergy. Let's go ahead and feed you something with a lot of peanuts in it, and you'll die. And then we'll have somebody here in this hospital, very convenient, bring you back to life. Right? His younger brother is not really on board with this, but kind of goes along with it anyway. And so they go to the vending machine that's in the hallway of the hospital. And he's like, okay, I'm going to get you some peanuts out of here. And he goes to like get some unsalted peanuts. And his
Yeah.
brother's like, hell no. If I'm going to fucking die, I'm not going to eat some of that unsalted bullshit. Give me the fucking Reese's peanut butter cups. So
Oh, no. Yeah.
he like pushes the button to get the Reese's peanut butter cups out of the machine, and the
Yeah.
Reese's peanut butter cups get stuck in the machine. They
Yeah.
don't come out. Classic, right? And so Eric's like, okay, fuck this. And he gets behind the machine and he's tilting the vending machine trying to get the fucking peanut butter cups to come out. He hits the glass in the front and cracks the glass on the machine.
Yeah.
The peanut butter cups are not fucking coming out, dude. Like,
And the entire time here, you think something's gonna happen.
yeah, you think the vending machine is going to fall on his brother and kill him dead because that's what's going to happen. Like obviously. So they do this and the machine
Yeah.
almost falls and kills his brother, but they manage to keep it up and put it back in its place and the peanut butter cups fall out. But not before. If you know American vending machines, there's almost this corkscrew mechanism that moves and moves the thing that you're buying forward. So
Yeah.
that thing pops out of socket kind of forward into the glass
Yeah.
and it's kind of hanging there in the air, but the peanut butter cups drop. So they get the peanut butter cups, and then they go into a dark room, which is actually an MRI room, right? So
Yeah.
they go into an MRI room with the MRI machine shut off. It's really dark. There's nobody in there. Eric gets a metal wheelchair and sits it down and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
get in this chair. You're going to eat these things. And then when you start to die, I'm going to sit here until you are clinically dead. And then I'm going to rush you to the emergency room and they're going to revive you and we'll all be fine."
That's pretty much dumb anyway. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's stupid as fuck,
that's
but
the dumb
whatever.
thing about the
It's a
plan.
movie.
You know, because actually, he should do that now and then rush him there. I think with allergies, that's kind of the thing. It's dumb anyway because it's not that easy with an allergy. Because if he
No.
dies with all the allergy going on, he's dead. There's no way
Yeah.
you can revive him anymore because the problem he had is, because
You just have to think about it a little bit and you realize that it's not going to
his
work.
neck is going to swell up and everything, and that's not going to go away because you won't be able to revive his heart because that will just keep his immune system going back and crazy. What you should have done is like given him some kind of drug or whatever that would cause him to die, and then that would have been a way.
I mean, I would
have.
have. This guy's a metalhead. He has a tattoo studio.
Yeah,
I'm sure he knows someone with some drugs, right?
probably.
It would have
Yeah,
been easier to give this guy a heroin overdose and then bring him back.
yeah, of
But
course. Yeah,
whatever. It's a dumb plan. It's a dumb plan. It's not going to work. Whatever. Anyway,
yeah,
so he sits his brother down in this metal wheelchair that's right in front of this MRI machine, right? And he says, "Okay, eat it." So his brother eats the peanut butter cups, or at least one of them, and he's sitting there. He's like, "My God, these are fucking delicious." He's never had peanut butter cups before. He can't, right? So he's sitting there and he's eating the peanut butter cups. At this point, I think Eric leans up against the machine, or somehow in the room he turns on the MRI machine accidentally. I don't
yeah,
know how that happens, but somehow he turns it on, right? And he doesn't know it's turned on because it doesn't make any sounds. Like he hit the button
yeah,
and the MRI machine kind of lights up, but neither of them are looking that direction, so they don't realize it's lit up.
yeah.
It's literally right behind the chair that the younger brother is sitting in. And if you know what an MRI machine does, it's a highly magnetic machine. So if you go in one of these machines, they tell you to remove all jewelry, they tell you to remove any metal things that you have on you. And if you have a metal implant in your body in any way, you can't be in an MRI machine because it will rip it right out of your body. It's highly, highly magnetic. So he's sitting there in this wheelchair, he's eating the peanut butter cup, his throat starts to close up, and they both realize this. At the same time, the machine starts to power up higher and higher and higher and higher. And there's things that happen that turn this machine up that Eric is doing
Yeah.
without knowing he's doing it. But I can't remember what those things are. Anyway, this machine gets cranked up all the way to the highest it can go. Right? And his brother is dying, he's choking, and there was something that Eric has in his hand. EpiPen. EpiPen.
Yes, yes,
So he tells his brother, he's like, "Give me your EpiPen because I know you're going to want to use it if you notice your throat closing up." So he takes his EpiPen away. The machine is going up, and there's nurses in the hospital. There's one nurse in the hospital that's outside of the room that notices that things in her office that are metal and small, like a pen or
Yeah.
her necklace, are starting to like hover in the air in a direction. And she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because obviously the machine's magnetism is drawing anything metal towards it. So she gets up, she's like, "What the fuck?" And she starts walking around the corner, following where her name tag that has metal in it is leading her, right? So she goes that way, the machine is turned all the way up. All of a sudden, you notice that Eric is being pulled towards the fucking machine because he's standing behind his brother right in front of the machine where the wheelchair is. First you see his nose piercing flies out of his nose and goes into the machine. His ear piercings fly out of his ear and goes into the machine. And then you see his shirt do this like, towards the machine because he has nipple piercings, right? And he's like, and he gets sucked into the machine. Right, but it's not
Yeah.
a quick death. He gets sucked in the middle, like the middle of his body gets pulled in, so his legs are kind of hanging out and his top is hanging out while the
Yeah.
middle of his body is going towards it because he also has a dick ring too.
Yeah.
So he's getting pulled in the machine by this fucking Prince Albert piercing
Yeah.
and gets pulled in the machine and pulled in the machine, and you kind of hear his back cracking a little bit. And then the wheelchair that's behind him that his brother is sitting in gets pulled in too, and it's into his back because he's standing in front of it. And the wheelchair goes through his body into the machine, so Eric is effectively like torn in half. And this wheelchair is crammed in behind him. Great death scene, also brilliantly done. Anyway, his body is kind of in this machine, half like a sandwich, where his legs are hanging out and his arms are hanging out, and in his hand is still the EpiPen. Right? So his brother is dying from the peanut allergy and crawls over to the machine and pulls the EpiPen out of his dead brother's hand and stabs himself with it so now he
Yeah.
can breathe again. Mike, you got to help me out here because this kid dies and I do not remember how.
Yeah. Okay. However, because the nurse comes in now, he's like, "Oh, are you okay with everything?" Because you can see he has his face is totally swollen. By the time the younger brother, the jock brother, right on the right time got to the needle thing, whatever it was, I don't know what it's called in English,
EpiPen.
and stabbed it in. And stabbed into him, so everything was okay. Then he stood up, is like, "Oh yeah, everything's okay." And then from the vendor machine, the cardio machine outside of the room where that spring was, it flies out through the cardio machine and right into his head. And the funny thing is, you have like this entire part of his head gone, and the thing is just like turning.
Still spinning. Yeah, that's right. So the little corkscrew mechanism
Yeah.
in the vending machine gets
Yeah.
sucked in the machine too. He's standing in front of it. It hits him right in the head, decapitates the top
Yeah.
of his head, and it's still spinning while he's standing there dead. Also a great death scene. I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
This whole scene with Eric being killed in this machine and then his brother
Yeah.
was so good. This was worth watching the movie for alone. Great scene.
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
well done. You didn't expect both of them to go out. Eric got himself killed because he's a fucking idiot. He wasn't even in the chain to die. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
he just kind of got in the way of his brother's death, and that's why he died.
Yeah.
So that takes care of the uncle's entire family. They're all dead.
Yeah.
So the only people that are left now is the mom and her two kids, right?
Yeah.
So Stephanie and her brother and the mom. So Stephanie, Charlie, and their mother Darlene flee to Iris's cabin because they figure it's safe there. And the mother says, "Hey, just come with me. We're gonna go to Grandma's cabin. We're gonna stay there, and we'll cheat death that way, right?" So they head there in her RV. Let's see. A chain reaction causes the cabin to explode, sending their RV into a lake. I can't exactly remember how that chain reaction happened, but they're driving to the cabin in the RV. One of the electrical wires above the cabin breaks loose and falls. That's stupid. I didn't even think about that when I was watching the movie.
It was more, no, because how does it happen? Also, I'm not entirely sure how. I think that could be exactly what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, they drive up in the camper and they're outside of the house in the camper, right? And I think a power line on top of the camper, because she had to have electricity in the place, a power line that's on top falls, hits something inside the house or outside of the house, and it causes an explosion. So the whole fucking Grandma Iris's house goes up in flames like a huge explosion. I remember thinking in the theater that was dumb as fuck. Because Grandma Iris was supposed to die that entire time anyway. So if Death really wanted to kill her, why didn't he just do that?
Well,
You know what?
that's the thing that's unexplained. That's the thing that's unexplained because they're not in the house yet. That's the thing that maybe would have been better if they would have explained it because Grandma Iris survived in this house. So there's probably something she put up in this house that protects it, I guess. But the door of the house has to be closed, I guess, because that's probably how she survived, I guess. Because you can also see in the beginning when Grandma Iris dies, she doesn't die until she steps outside of the house. Because when Stephanie leaves, the grandma stops at the doorstep because she doesn't want to stay in the house because she knows that he's safe in this house.
Right.
So I guess for some reason, Death's powers do not work in this house because she figured something out. I don't know. So that's
they don't really explain it. I feel like
they don't really explain it because
that's the only plot hole in this movie. Like there's rarely a horror movie or any movie where you can't find a plot hole that doesn't make any sense. And this is the plot hole for this movie. It doesn't make any sense.
No, why not? I mean, it's not a plot hole, Matt. It's not.
Well, I mean,
there is no plot.
It's not explained though. Like it's not explained how she was safe inside the house.
Yeah, well, for me, because
it doesn't matter.
I mean, because this is no. It does matter. We're talking about this now.
All right, it's a thing. Explain it to me, Mike, because I don't get it. Well,
for me, it was pretty easy because you could clearly see that they're safe once they're inside the house. So death
Yeah.
powers, for some reason we don't know, do not work in the house. You can see Grandma Iris died whenever she left the house. Nah? So however, they're in
Right.
the bus or whatever, trying to get out, and Stephanie can't get her seatbelt open. And they're trying to help her,
Right.
and then she's like, no, just go in the house, then I'll be fine. So the basically is they have to get inside the house. So apparently
Right.
death
For her
powers
to
don't
live.
work. I never really saw
Right.
any of a plot hole there.
Okay. It's just there's a lot of things that are unexplained there. Like, so if you're gonna set the precedence that inside the house is a safe place to be, you kind of have to explain why. And they didn't. They just didn't. But that's okay. Like that doesn't remove anything from the film for me. It's just that if you set a precedent in some way, you have to back
Yeah.
it up with something, and they didn't do that, right? But whatever. That the house
I mean,
explodes, right?
yeah. No,
Was the
because
but
not yet, because shortly before the mom and the brother want to go in the house, you have like a spark going in, no, into the house, and then there's gas lights, gas stove on, and then it explodes. Yeah, right. You're right. It explodes.
okay.
Yeah.
So the whole house explodes. The mom and the brother are outside of the RV, so they get blown back in the explosion. Mom, you don't know that mom's not dead, but mom gets blown back. The brother gets blown back, and he has all this rubble on top of him, so he can't get up. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
Pieces of the house are laying on top of him, and he's about to die. All of a sudden, you see the mom come
Yeah.
back. Her face is burned, her body's burned, but she's able to lift this rubble off the top of him and get him out from underneath it. How does she die?
How does she die again? Something falls on her. I think.
A lamppost. A lamppost
Yes. Yeah.
falls on her.
Genau. A lamppost. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lamppost on the property. Everything's on fire. It falls directly on her and like smashes her flat. I remember that now. It's a good death scene too. Pretty well done.
Yeah.
So she's dead. The brother is up and he's okay. So he runs into the RV, which the RV has been pushed over into this lake that's on the property. She's stuck in her seatbelt. Stephanie's stuck in her seatbelt underneath the water. He goes into the RV. She looks like she goes completely unconscious, like you think she's dying. And I think that's the last thing we see for this part. Like, you don't really see him pull her out. And, oh, yeah, you do. He pulls her out. The next thing you see after you think she's dead is him reviving her. So he's doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and pushing on her chest. She spits out all the water, and they're both alive.
Exactly.
Because that happened, they think that they've broken Death's chain because they thought she was dead, right? So if she drowned, then in their mind, she's dead, and he brought her back to life. So they think that they've now cheated Death because she died and was brought back. So then, they're sad because mom died, but now they can move on with their lives because they think that they've cheated Death. The next scene that we get is back at their dad's house, the guy that we met at the beginning of the movie. The brother is coming down the stairs in a tuxedo, and he's obviously getting ready for the prom, and Dad and Stephanie drive him to the girl's house that he's going to the prom with so he can pick her up.
Yeah.
They drive there. They meet the father of the girl that he's picking up for the prom, who is obviously a doctor. So Stephanie's talking to him because the dad introduced him to them, said, hey, here's the father of the girl he's picking up for the prom. And they get into a discussion about the fact that her brother's a really great guy because he saved her life and brought her back to life after she was dead, right? Because this guy's a doctor, he's like, and you see him like kind of be like, not really. And she's like, wait, what do you mean? Do you think he didn't bring me back to life? And the guy's like, well, technically you weren't dead. Like you had drowned, but your heart didn't stop. You had drowned, you'd lost oxygen to your brain. He resuscitated you. He didn't bring you back to life. And at that point, her and her brother realized that they didn't cheat Death.
Yeah.
They realized at that moment, holy shit, we can still get killed by Death. At that moment, the wind changes. The wind starts blowing. Things start happening around them that they know from Grandma's book happens before Death strikes. Her brother is standing in the street, so she runs out, grabs him out of the street, and says, move. At this time, we see a train coming down the exact same tracks that we saw at the beginning of the movie in 1968. The train is coming down the tracks. A penny that I think the penny is left over from Grandma's scrapbook, right? Am I right about this?
No, actually,
this same penny that
is
would
that
have caused...
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to bring that up, but you just did, yeah.
Yeah, that penny falls out of her pocket or out of the book or something. I can't remember what it was. But it falls out rolls down the street to the train tracks, and gets stuck in the train track right when the tracks are switching. So it stops the tracks from switching properly. So if a train
Yeah.
hits that while there's that space in there created by the penny, it's going to derail the train. So she runs out into the street and grabs her brother and tries to pull him away. The train is coming down the tracks. It derails and flips and flies into the city, right? Right where they're standing. And so they
Yeah.
hear the train. She grabs him. They start running down the street away from this train that is barreling towards the neighborhood. This train
Mhm.
fucking takes out every house on this street. It's a pretty cool scene. It
Yeah.
comes down the street. It's taken out all the houses. They're running away from the train. They're just inches away from it the entire time it's sliding down the street. And Stephanie falls over. She trips and falls right in front of the train that's coming at her. The brother runs back to get her, but the train stops right before it gets to her.
Yeah.
So they're like, holy shit, we avoided this again. My God, that is absolutely insane. And then you get the best scene
Yeah.
any of these fucking movies, dude. This ending scene is the most brilliant thing to wrap up this series of movies. And like the fact that they did this made me so happy. I laughed my ass off at the end of the
Yeah.
film. So, if you can think back to the original Final Destination film, the first movie, the one death scene that
Mhm.
everybody remembers and has scarred plenty of people my age from driving behind log trucks is the
Yeah.
log truck death scene, right? And if you remember back, there was a car driving behind a log truck, and the
I
log
think that's from
slipped
the
out of
second
the
part.
fucking truck. It's first movie, isn't it?
I think the log death scene is the second one. I mean, I
I'm
can't
pretty sure
remember
it's the
that
first
from the.
one.
I'm pretty sure it's the second one,
Okay, well,
but might
look it
be
up.
might also be the first one. Yeah.
Look it up because I want to know. I'll keep explaining it while you're looking it up.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've obviously not been killed by this train because it stopped sliding right where they were standing. So they think they've avoided it. But if you know anything about train accidents, when a train stops like that, the last cars in the train still have momentum and they can't go forward anywhere. So usually the last two wagons in a train flip up over the top of the train. The last car on that train was a log truck car, right? And it was full of logs. So they look up and they see on the top of the train wreck that this log fucking wagon is flipping up over the top of the train. Two big logs spill out of it and head towards them and smash them both. Bloody, gory,
Yeah.
disgusting smash
Yeah.
as they're running away. Both of these characters eat it at this exact second by two giant logs from this fucking log cart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. End of movie, best ending of a horror movie that I've seen in a long
Yes.
time.
And
I will
it's the
say
best
that.
way to end the franchise. Yeah. I also looked it up. The log
Hmm.
scene was Final Destination 2. It was not the first
Holy
one.
shit! Okay,
Yeah.
I was sure it was the first one. Okay, so you were right.
No.
You were right. Okay.
Who or even what the killer is. Is death
Right.
an actual being, divine being, or is death just a literal force of nature? Now, that's never really
Right.
defined in it.
Right.
But what's interesting is, but the thing is, what did not make sense, for example, is why death would just randomly cause these scenarios to happen to all of these random people that have nothing in common. It's just like, you can have the discussion, death is not evil because it's a natural force or whatever, but everything happening specifically makes death seem extremely sadistic. And that never made sense by all of this. But that's brilliantly what this movie done, why also it has the subtitle Bloodlines. Because in
Right.
Grandma's book, there are literally cameos from every single Final Destination movie. And if you recognize, if you actually look into the names that Stephanie puts up the wall, those are all the names of characters from the previous Final Destination movies. So it's kind of like you have like these 100 people or 200 people from this restaurant that should have died. They had kids, had families or whatever, and all of these were all descendants in all of the Final Destination movies of that original scene. What kind
Right.
of
Right.
just like interesting, it makes Final Destination 6 what's totally fucking crazy, a prequel and a sequel at the same time.
Yes, yes, yes. It
Yeah.
does. It's brilliant. It's brilliant fucking writing. Like I didn't realize that at first. So when you watch a movie, you kind of have to step back and think about what you saw. So I didn't catch that
Yeah.
in the film, but I thought about it later. I was like, wait a minute. The book that she had and what we've been watching since Final Destination 1 until now are descendants of that instance in 19.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a prequel and the final film, and it wraps it up beautifully. Everything that happened in every Final Destination film up until now was because of
Yeah.
that one instance in 1968. And that is cool as fuck. That is some excellent fucking writing, dude. Like,
It is
brilliant.
absolutely
This was not a
excellent.
cash grab. Like, it's going to make some
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
but it was done specifically because they wanted to wrap it up and they wanted to do it brilliantly. It wasn't one
exactly.
of these
Yeah,
half-ass writing jobs. This was actually the perfect wrap up to the films.
it was.
And
It was totally. Yeah,
I can't like you can skip a lot of films in this series. Like if you see Final Destination 1, okay, that's really all you need to see to understand the premises of the other movies. But if you've seen that one, then you have to see this one because this wraps up everything that happened in the first movie and explains it all away.
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought I was going to go into this movie with you, Mike, and I thought I was going to be like, this is garbage because I didn't
Yeah,
even
me
see
too.
anything past, I think, part 3 because it was the same scenario every time. They didn't do anything new.
Yeah, for me, same thing. Is I saw Final Destination 3. That was the one with the roller coaster. No,
Mhm. Yep.
I didn't even watch the entire thing because it was just like the characters were all just I don't know. I just didn't like any of them, and it's the same fucking
Generic.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's I mean, I know you expect that from horror movies, you know, but there
Yeah.
has to be something that makes it different or the surprise effects that you had in the first one never happen again in all the other
Right.
movies. They just
Right.
it's just the way the story was written, it was just let's make another Final Destination movie.
Yeah.
And this one is the only one that actually managed to capture the exact same vibe and type of storytelling from the first one. It's the only one that actually managed to do that. And it's also, yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
I really was went into this movie and thought I was going to hate it. I thought it was, I literally up until we saw it, I was the entire time, yeah, this movie sucks. It's probably going to be bad. And I thought this was going to be a movie that we were going to fucking tear apart like
I did
werewolves.
too. I was looking forward to a movie that we could tear apart and just make fun of the whole time, but
Yeah,
I came out of this movie really happy. I came out of this movie really happy.
it was. Yeah,
I
it was a
have
great
nothing
movie.
bad to say
It was
about it.
really great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's the last one we're gonna see. Unless this one makes a shit ton of money and they
Yeah.
decide to keep going, there's no reason to do another Final Destination film. This
No,
wraps
absolutely
everything up
not.
brilliantly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there've been 6 movies, and I should say maybe you should just do a remake if you want to make another Final Destination movie. Nah?
I'm tired of remakes, man.
Yeah, but even
I'm
sequel is
I'm
just
I'm
as
really
fucking bad
tired of
at this
remakes.
point, Matt.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Just don't do anything. There's no
Yeah.
need. It's kind of
Well,
like before we watched this movie, you and me were talking about the fact that you found out that they're thinking, or maybe they are
yeah.
producing a remake to The Fly, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And well,
Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
well, how should I say it? When it comes to remakes, it depends. I don't mind remakes. I'm just never really hyped for them. You know,
No.
I always go into this mindset. Yeah, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll not, but I don't really care about remakes. So I actually, I don't know.
Well, at
It
this
depends.
point, with movies like The Fly, you're
Yeah,
remaking a remake.
yeah, of course.
I mean, The Fly
That's not.
itself was already a remake.
Yeah, yeah, but Matt, that can be applied to multiple movies.
Yeah.
Pretty much 90% of movies, TV shows that a lot of people like from the 80s or 90s, Matt, were all remakes.
Yeah, but I
So,
have to wonder. I have to wonder if so. So here's my thing. As someone who I'm interested to see what you think about this topic because
yeah,
for
yeah,
me, as someone who lives and breathes horror films, I love
yeah.
them. Like if you ask me what I want to watch, it's almost always going to be a horror film.
I know
Always.
it's the only thing you want to watch.
It's the only thing I want to watch, right? And if that's the case, you and I have a history of watching horror movies and knowing what makes a horror movie work and knowing what makes people scared. We have just this plethora
Yeah.
of information that we could use if we wanted to create an original idea that was new. You and I could write a horror film. If we had the money to produce it, we could
Yeah.
produce it, we could do it, and it would be a fucking success. I mean, it's there. The creativity is there to be able to do something like that. I wonder if that is not happening because Hollywood probably stops people and interferes in the process so much that they don't greenlight this stuff. Because when was the last time you saw a horror movie that was truly original? When was the last time? Can you think of one? I can't
But
either, man.
the thing is, what you're saying, the problem with Hollywood, that problem, that issue they have with a lot of not, it does not only apply to horror movies, it applies to movies, TV shows in general. And the main issue I see is just entirely Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. They have no ideas anymore. They're not capable
Yeah.
of doing anything. Hollywood in itself, the main issue I think is the writers because they're all talentless idiots. That's how it is. A lot of them are either completely talentless, have no idea what they're writing about, and in some cases don't even like what they're writing about. No, because there are very specific cases, not necessarily applied to horror movies, but more. This is something that goes more on with fantasy, science fiction, and superheroes. There were a lot of shows. I'm not going to say which one and which studios they happen to, but a lot of TV shows and movies, the studios specifically hired people that did not like the source material. A lot of writers were told to not look into the source material specifically.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would also make the argument that you have a lot of diversity hires. If that's
Yeah.
the case, no, who knows? Can't really say much about it. But the main issue I see in modern storytelling is, for one, what you say, the studio interference, that they're only greenlighting certain projects because they don't believe in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And another process is just that modern day writers, when it comes to at least the ones in Hollywood, they suck. They're talentless. They have and even if they try to do something, how should I say it? They don't understand what they're writing about, and they purely only want to make their own interpretation of it, even if their interpretation does not fit into the entire setting whatsoever.
Right. Which a great example of that.
Yeah.
A great example of that is Alien Romulus that we saw.
Yes, absolutely.
So that movie was greenlit with an outstanding writer director. Rodriguez is an outstanding writer director, but they went the easy route and wrote something that was completely against canon because they knew that people were going to go see it because it was an alien film and they only saw dollar signs. And what you got was a complete betrayal of what Alien is about. And this exact same thing happened with Alien 3. Right? And this is where studio interference really ruins films because Alien 3, story-wise, original script and everything would have been a fucking brilliant movie.
I know.
But
I know.
Hollywood fucked with that movie so much, and there were so many rewrites and so many things that they wanted changed that the final product came out to be garbage. I mean, the original theatrical cut of that movie is terrible. It's fucking dreadful. Like, if you want to see that movie the way that it was supposed to be made, the original director's idea, you have to go back and watch the director's cut. And it's a completely different movie. And that movie was so much better than what we got.
Yeah, but even though the original idea that the director planned was actually also released as a novel, no?
And the novel's great. I read the novel.
Yeah. I haven't read it yet, but also the thing is, it was a studio interference because they wanted so much things to change, and the director at the time, he really had issues with the studio, and it became so bad that at the time the director, after Alien 3, wanted to quit making movies.
Yeah,
because
as I would too. I mean, if I cared about something as much as that guy cared about Aliens and how much he wanted to do a good story, and the studio fucked with it that much to where you got the product that we got, I wouldn't want to do movies anymore either. And that's what bothers me. I feel like in horror specifically, and you can talk about other genres as well, but in horror specifically, if you want to watch a good original horror movie today, it almost has to be an independent film. Those are the only really good horror films coming out.
Of course.
I mean, the effects are not that good. Sometimes the quality of the movie is not that good, but the story itself is better than anything Hollywood is putting out. And it's because Hollywood will not allow anything original to be made anymore. That drives me nuts. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
One thing I'm interested in, and I wanted to see, I haven't talked to you about it offline. I kind of wanted to talk to you about it on the podcast. But Toxic Avenger, right? The real The Toxic Avenger is coming out very soon, and it's
Really?
been
That's
screened.
soon.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
soon. It's been screened already by a couple different prominent writers, and they said it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
They said it is a true depiction without taking anything away from the story of the original Toxic Avenger, which if you watch the Toxic Avenger, it's pure comedy, right? It's just pure comedy. It's
Yeah.
gory,
Yeah.
pure
Yeah.
comedy, and this film
Yeah.
sticks to that. So if we can get a copy of that when it comes out on Plex, I want to do that movie as soon as possible before somebody else does.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure when the new Toxic Avenger comes out. I'm not sure if it's coming out this year. No,
It
I
is.
just
It's
saw the
scheduled for
pictures
this
I
year.
sent
I
you, and
don't
I
know
also
what
make
kind
a
of
post.
release
Not
it's going
just
to get.
yeah. But I just remember seeing the first Toxic Avenger. I mean, the original one was just fucking ridiculously bad. I mean, I like bad movies, and I love the original Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
But I saw the remake. Then I saw the remake, and I'm like, not sure about this one because the Toxic Avenger looks like the Terminator had a kid with one of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you sent that post, and you know what? You're absolutely right.
Huh?
It looks like one of Jim Henson's mutated Ninja Turtles from the '80s. That's what it looks like. But that's okay. Like, take an original movie that's hilarious and beloved.
Yeah.
Stay true to the story. Do maybe something a little different if you want to, just to breathe some life into it. But don't take away from what made the original good. And if you're going to take something away, at least add something in that adds something to it. And I think they've done that because everybody that's reviewed it so far has said that. So I definitely want to do that film. In other
Okay,
news,
it's coming out in August, Matt.
what is the next film we're doing, Mike?
Huh?
In August. Okay,
The
perfect.
Thing. Yeah,
The Thing.
Toxic.
Okay.
Although the Toxic Avenger
Yes.
is coming out in August. Yes, the thing is, I put it pretty much early on our list because I knew it was one of your favorite movies.
Yes.
And
It's one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, I have to check. Just let me check and see our thing. But I'm pretty sure it was. Oh
The
God,
Thing?
I'm pretty sure it was The Thing. If I find
Okay.
the list.
Okay. The Thing is for me. I mean, I'm not spoiling anything in saying this. Like, there's nothing that I can make fun of in
Yep,
that
it's
movie.
The
So
Thing.
we'll go through The Thing.
Yeah,
Good.
I got it here.
So we'll go through The
Here.
Thing as a perfect
I got
horror
it
film
here.
because
No,
that
The
is
Thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So that's a perfect horror film. The only film that comes close to being that perfect for me, horror film wise, is Alien. That's it. This
Alien
is
or
a perfect
Aliens? I
film.
didn't get you.
Well, Alien is a perfect
Huh?
movie. I also think Aliens is perfect. I think
Yeah.
that Aliens, like I said, I think last podcast, Aliens is one of the few rule breakers to where a sequel can be just as good, if not better, than the first movie.
Exactly.
Aliens does that.
Yeah.
The Thing is a perfect horror film, which, by the way, it's also a remake, but it's done completely differently than the original, and it adds a whole nother level of suspense and horror that the original didn't have. But I'm not going to nerd
sure.
out about The Thing right now.
The Thing from the '80s is a remake too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just like
The original
just
was
like
called The Thing from Another World, and it's the same story.
exactly.
But it's I wouldn't call it low budget. I mean, the original it's a very old movie. So they did what they could do with it at the time. It's kind of like House on Haunted Hill, where the original was done as best they could, and for the time it was scary. It was a Vincent Price movie. The remake kind of brought it into the new generation. They did a good job of that. I think the House on Haunted Hill is a great example of how you can do that. The Thing did the same thing. So I love it. I can't wait to do it. So I guess we'll do that next week. You got anything else you want to say about Final Destination Bloodlines?
No, so far nothing. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so far nothing. If you can think of anything else, write it in the comments when we post the video.
Yeah. Right. No, I have nothing else to say about it. I mean, I said pretty much, everything. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed your first spoiler episode of the Moonjuice Horror Metal Podcast. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to do this
Yeah.
every month, but we will do it, and we will let you know in big, bold spoiler letters that you're going to get your movie spoiled for you, so you don't hate us in the comments after. Like, if you watch this or listen to it in your car on the way to work, you were warned multiple times that this was going to be a spoiler episode. So any shitty comments, I'm just going to ignore them because you're fucking stupid. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing the thing next week. So until then, we'll see you. I'm Matt.
Yeah. I'm Mike.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
The black skies. The dark side.